intimacy goes so far beyond that because it's like the depth of a person more than anything. It's literally being naked with your clothes on.
Ladies and gentlemen,
you are now about to witness
the journey that is the Lyfe Choyces podcast.
Yeah!
So, talking about relationships, what would you say is the man's role versus the woman's role? And are we still in the same roles as of old?
Good question. I personally don't think there's that whole gender definitive, I'm the man, you're the woman, my role stays as such, and then you as the woman need to act and be a certain way. This is how I'm going to move in the relationship. This is how you should move accordingly in the relationship, and this is how it's going to work.
You think the roles have slightly switched a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. If they don't play the same game in dating, they mirror each other's behaviors for sure.
So let's say let's talk 30 and up. Let's just say 30 and up because that's more to our age and more to our situations when it comes to dating.
Yeah.
Do you feel that with your experience and with your friends' experiences, because I know women typically, men do the same thing. We all discuss within our own circles our current situations of how the dating happened, how we're now talking to someone, or how the relationship is progressing right now. Do you find that now women are more aggressive when meeting someone, like if they're at the gym or in whatever social atmosphere they might be at, the man's role of having to start that conversation out of thin air, like no friendship there, complete stranger, hey, how you doing? Do you feel that more women are doing that now in an environment of actually being there?
Women are much more likely, especially right now, to make the first move and be more aggressive, initiate conversation, initiate the first move, initiate even asking men out on dates, not even allowing the men, as in the old days, to court them, ask them on dates, make them moved, like kind of establish the relationship. All of that is out the window. Like, I feel like it doesn't happen that much anymore.
And within your circles of friends, like, what do you feel is the conversation when it comes to that topic? Are they okay with it? Do they feel that they're doing it because men have lost confidence, or are they doing it because they're just tired of waiting?
I think a lot of men are either, one, tired of rejection. They have a fear of rejection. It might not be a confidence issue. It might be, but a lot of men either, they also like a woman to take initiative. They like women to make the first move. A lot of them aren't used to women being that confident in making the first move. And maybe a lot of men are like, hey, I like a role change. I like that, we're going to shift gears here and you're going to take charge of the situation and come after me. I like being wanted. I like being pursued. Some men are like, this is different. I've never had this before. I've never had a woman show interest in me in this way. I do have a male friend that him and his wife are married because she slid in his DMs and was like, you're cute. I want to get to know you. I want a chance. And he was just like, I've never had anyone give me attention like this. And he was astounded by it. And then he was like, how are you? And then he kicked back. So it was like, hey, the ball's in your court. What's the next move? And then they initiated, but he's like, if she would have never done that, that would never been my wife. So, I mean, sometimes you got to take that shot, but he was like, she was so aggressive. She was like, you're like, I got to know you. Like, you have to talk to me. And he was like, I like that.
She was aggressive in a positive forward motion. She saw someone that she was visibly, physically attracted to. Yeah. And again, this is a great segue. According to the social media posts and what you're putting out there, there's a little bit of character. You can sense a little bit of the person's authenticity, hopefully, because we are living in a very fakeism world now with social media. But she saw a physical attraction and thought, hey, I'm just going to start it up, see what happens. Yeah. And then he reciprocated and the conversation kept going. And obviously they met in person and so on and so forth. That's interesting because my friend's in a relationship right now, a new relationship, and very similar. Like, it's very new, but she slipped into his DM and made a comment on a post or something like that. And then that sparked the conversation. Now, I know I've slid into DMs before. Like I know I've thrown out like a hey, how you doing? Or like, oh, hey, that looks like, oh, I love how that meal looks, like just something to see if a conversation could start from it. My experience, social media never really kind of like did much for my dating. Social media is such a huge thing right now when it comes to dating.
Yeah.
You have apps, and then obviously you just have people's Instagram, their TikToks, and you have the ability to just slide in and shoot a message, and who knows if they respond to it. When it comes to that, how much authenticity is there coming from the person versus the reality when you meet them?
That's a really great question. I feel like if you're really in tune with yourself and in tune with what they're putting out, you're going to pick up on energy in person 100%. I feel like you can only fake a filter so much in real life. You really can't. You can put whatever you want over your face, or you can post all the party club pics or all the you're this hot papi chulo influencer. You can be this glamorous makeup content creator girly on social media, but the moment those two people collide in real life, if they're not really putting out that authentic energy, like you're a good person or you're a genuine person or you're just a good human being or you're cool to just talk to about nothing, it's not going to work. I don't even care.
It's easy to be confident behind closed doors,
person,
right?
Like totally different.
Yeah.
You can be whoever you want to be on social media.
You can reinvent yourself over and over again. You can have multiple different pages. And even, not that I've been on them in a very long time, like let's say 3 years ago, I was probably on dating apps because that's what people do. That's like, if I'm an individual that doesn't really go out, back then, the only forum that I could meet people was either at the gym or on an app. And you can put up whatever you want in your profile. You can write down, like anything, like when someone calls you for an interview and says, oh, tell me about yourself. Like you can say anything you want until you actually get the in life experience.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden you could be this very not exciting individual.
Flatline.
Yeah. So it confuses me because I'm dealing with a lot of, like I said, fakeism through social media. There's a lot of stuff out there that I believe sometimes isn't even, like, for example, sometimes I see a post, Dana White, the guy that owns the UFC. But I wonder sometimes if it's actually his voice, because like all the words are over where his mouth is, but it's his voice. But is it, is it just something bullshit that someone's trying to like put off as him to sell, basically? Right. So when it comes to dating, I see a lot of people tripping over themselves and worrying about these things because social media has taken over all of our lives. I spend probably, I want to say over the whole day, probably 2 hours of just, scrolling at stuff. Most of it is for educational reasons to better myself. But in dating, we're seeing a lot of not truths about people, which makes it hard when you go out on a date, because going out on a date when someone slides into your DM, like you're giving a lot of trust. You don't know this person. You can't do that much background check because it's literally just what you're seeing on Instagram or TikTok. And then you put yourself in this forum where, like it can be awkward. You could go for what you think might be a good couple hours and be 5 minutes and you're sitting there going like,
been there way too many times.
How do you deal with the fakeism of social media in dating at our age?
You know what? I still try to go in with a positive expectation, though. People are so used to recycling relationships and recycling each other. So you're meeting the same version of people in different bodies because a lot of their concepts in dating, in people, in love, it's all the same. It's almost like this repetition-based mindset that everybody's adapting. So every person you meet, they're almost replicas of each other.
So do you think that's an influence of how we're consuming information?
Yeah, for sure.
Because we're being...
Social media is glamorizing, let's be toxic, let's ghost people, let's play the game, let's mirror that behavior. Oh, match energy. they're not hitting you up, don't hit them up. Like,
Doesn't make sense.
no.
We were talking about this on an episode last week or the week before, where I had a therapist on here.
Yeah.
So she actually knows the terminology, red flags, toxic, all this stuff. And we expressed how it seems like, especially in relationship conversations, when you're out there dating, people use these terms not really knowing what the term is or taking it out of context. Yeah. Like if you were in a relationship and you got dumped, that person is now referred to as toxic. When no, not really. You just got a relationship that ended. That's all that happened. It didn't work out. The person's not a horrible human being. But it does, I understand what you're saying because of the way we are consuming information now. It seems like there's a great deal of pressure in the dating realm to be a certain way and not to be another way, which in turn creates men of the same genre or reverse, women in the same genre. I try to parallel it like when I'm at the gym. I'm a very talkative individual. I love talking and I love helping people. And I have a great deal of new information with regards to gym activity. So when I'm at the gym, I always like helping people. Like you meet people at a gym, like people just eventually say hi and you start chit chatting. And I'm a very confident person because I've created a new person. When you say it's the same person all the time that you're dating, because we're being conformed into this box of what we're supposed to be successful, because it's what seems to be successful on social media, I've stepped away from all that kind of nonsense and I've looked inside myself to let go of pieces of me to become a better version of me. So when I'm out in the public, I'm very confident. Now, I work out all the time, so I'm happier with the way I feel physically and mentally. That helps for confidence. So when I'm talking to people, it seems very easy and it seems to be reciprocated, like welcomed, because it's in a non-threatening way. Now, I take that and I think if people could just do that when it comes to dating, it would be wonderful. Now, what I observe is men and women initially sometimes become very standoffish when someone approaches them. You have to know the environment that you're in and know how to approach in a non-threatening way. But women still seem, and I could be generalizing, a bit their backup when someone approaches them because they're thinking still with the old train of thought of this person's only coming up to me because they want X. Instead of thinking, oh, this person is genuinely just trying to start a conversation with a stranger. Let's see where this goes.
Right.
Is that like, and I can only say the gym because it's the only place I go.
Right.
Is it like that everywhere else?
Depending on the person and if they have their defense mechanisms up, I mean, it could be like a lot of people could be very like that, like in a physical way. Their body could be pulling up that kind of protective,
So it's almost like a U across the forehead,
for sure.
Watching my language here.
It can also be an emotional response. So it in turn triggers a reactiveness with the body. It's almost like the body language is like, you know what I mean? It could be an innate response just to trauma of being hurt in the past. They're very guarded. They don't, every person who approaches them, it could just be like the previous person. I don't know. I know for me, like you, I love the human experience. I talk to people all the time. Doesn't matter how many times I've been disappointed, let down, I'm always going to give someone a chance. Benefit of the doubt. You may not be like the last person. You might be, but I'm still going to find out. I'm a hopeless romantic. I am. I'm a lover girl deep down. If you're still on your journey and there's a search there, you're like for love, it's like the ultimate goal for that journey is like just something great. Like you're going to find something amazing. That's why it's so vast. I don't know. I just hope for that.
I think in any type of relationship, because life is just that. It's an ongoing, continuous building of relationships every day with so many people.
Life experience, all
and
that stuff.
you can't in my personal opinion, you can't be closed off to even the idea of someone becoming a friend.
Of course.
Whether it's
yeah.
the same sex or the opposite sex, whatever you're into, whatever you're not into, it doesn't matter. But if someone approaches you
Be open.
in public, you know what I'm saying? Be safe about it,
Yeah.
but be open to the idea that this might be something different. It could be a friendship. It could be a business opportunity. It could be the love of my life. Like, you don't know until you try the human experience.
Right.
When you're in a relationship, whether it's new, 6 months in, a year, when do you feel is an appropriate time? Actually, there's two parts to this question. When do you feel is an appropriate time to be able to be vulnerable? And then once that has been established within inside your own mind or shared with your partner, how do you create the space for your partner to feel safe being vulnerable?
I like that question. Vulnerability. Oh.
It's
so
tough for some
scary.
people.
It's scary to feel that way. And I'll be honest with you. I used to be terrified in wanting to be vulnerable. And I'll be honest, it was probably one of the hardest things for me to master in learning to like let go of that resistance, because I was afraid of being vulnerable. But I realized, becoming older and learning about the power in that, how beautiful it was. It was beautiful, because when you learn to kind of give in to that feeling, it just kind of makes you feel like it's not like you're losing control or that vulnerability is a weakness. It's you really learning to trust yourself and trust that person. I think the time frame depends on the person. It depends on you. There's no guided measure on exactly in this amount of time you should feel comfortable enough to trust this person with your heart and your mind and your love. I don't know, because it's up to you and that bond and that person and what you've established, because there should be something with you and that person that makes you feel and know that that's that moment. I don't know. It varies, but I think when you know, that person is maybe going to know and feel like this person is trusting me. They're showing me their vulnerability. We're getting to a stage within each other that I think it's feeling good, it's feeling right, it's feeling deeper. And I think that person is also going to let their guard down, and then you guys become vulnerable together. I've only felt that probably twice. And the second time I felt that was with someone that I let my guard down and became vulnerable with. And then I self-sabotaged it. And I'll be honest, I did. So then when I tried to fix it, they became vulnerable, and they were like, you showed me that you kind of like retreat when you become vulnerable. And they were like, I don't like that. And I don't know if I can trust you. And then they walked away. So that was a learning lesson for me. And I feel like that's something that I'm going to take with. And I worked on it. So
For the next time.
Yeah.
Being vulnerable is scary. There's no question about that, I think, for everybody. My personal experience, and then from conversations I have with men that I've had over the course of, let's say, the past 10 years when it comes to relationships, is, and this hopefully helps women, because this is kind of what I'm talking to, is a lot of women, there's a lot of questions, typically, like when it comes to old school roles. Usually the female in the relationship asks a lot of questions. They want to know everything about you. And men typically don't really divulge a whole lot of information all the time, because what women don't typically understand is when a man is vulnerable, when he is willing to give you that information, and he will be eventually, he's letting you know the biggest things that he could be destroyed by, basically. So when a man opens up to a woman in a relationship, I feel it's the biggest sign of trust, because A, they're showing you, whether they know it or not, their feminine side by sharing, which is not necessarily something that most 30 and up were brought up to do. They're giving you this information knowing that if this doesn't work out, all of that could very well be used against them. So it's not just being comfortable and safe with their partner, it's also knowing for the long term, like that's like we're giving you so much trust.
Right.
And knowing that you should keep that within the relationship is what I believe the vulnerability is from the man giving it to the lady, because we're not dumb. We know some's going to be discussed with the girlfriends because it's like, oh my God, he finally opened up, but that should be all it should be. It shouldn't go into detail because this is the trust. This is the safety zone. We don't want the information going out elsewhere. That's why we're being vulnerable with the individual.
Right.
It's a big trust thing for me. And I've only had, honestly, when I think about it, I want to say 4 relationships. None of them, I mean, the current one is being successful because it's still happening. 2 relationships unsuccessful because obviously it didn't last. They're both on and off again situations for 3 years. One was like, I want to say 6 months, but that girl had my heart. Like I made love to her. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But in each one of those situations, I chose when to open up, even though there was multiple questions, multiple times. Well, why won't you talk to me? Why do you keep everything in? And for me, it's a big trust, but me to be vulnerable, and I think most men would agree, for us to be vulnerable, there's a large level of trust that we need to gain first. And again, based on our past experiences, we may not have that trust for you for a long time.
Right.
So when I feel safe, it'll be the most random times. I'll just start talking. Like something will spark, and I'll be like, oh, that reminds me of, and start talking about my dad. Oh, that reminds me of a time where my mom, and then all of a sudden the doors open and all this information comes out about the good relationship, the bad relationship I had with the parent, the way I was brought up, the way I was treated in school. So all that vulnerability comes in time.
Right.
But I think there's a level of trust that men need first, where women typically are more comfortable with themselves emotionally. They're more emotionally educated, I guess, or more emotionally aware at a younger age. So they're able to divulge this vulnerability a little bit easier than most typical men are. I don't know what it's like now for 30 and below. I don't have a lot of friends that are that age. I associate with some people at the gym that are of that age, because we help each other out with different techniques of working out. But 30 and up, and I honestly nowadays I want to say more like 35 and up because that's how old everyone I know. That's just the way it's been. The second part is when you feel comfortable, how do you make room for the partner to feel safe to be vulnerable? Like, I don't want to use, but I'm going to use the word nag. And again, my experience has been nagged so many times about like not opening up and sharing that I didn't want to be vulnerable, that it made me push away, and then I possibly sabotaged the relationship and it ended. So how do you find, what's that secret ingredient to like, how do you give someone the right space to feel vulnerable, to feel safe in vulnerability?
By the way that I care, like the way that I show them, like I'm there, the way I show up, I think, emotionally.
You're intentionally there
100%.
if they need you.
Yeah.
And you just let them know that by you physically being there if they need you.
Yeah. I dated someone because I felt bad for them. They fell for me very hard to the point where they secrets cried on my shoulder. Like, you're everything to me. You're my first love. Like, it was just intense. And it was to the point where I was like, okay, look, I just don't feel the same way. Like, I tried to date them. It was like a solid month. I tried. I wanted to see if I would have feelings. Like, I tried. So then I was like, I'm sorry. And it was that whole, it's not you, it's me. Like, you're my friend. Can we still be friends? It was so mean. If I can rip someone's heart out of their chest, that's what I did to that poor guy.
But it wasn't, okay, this is what I'm going to say to that, because I think most of us have been there on either one of those sides of the story or on both. And
awful.
I know I've been on both. You shouldn't feel bad.
With
anyone that I've done wrong to in a relationship where I know I've done something harmful. I have been, excuse me, I have been fortunate enough in my past to rectify it by at least calling them and explaining and letting them know.
I made my peace with
Yeah,
him.
you make amends from it. Now, it's a selfish thing, I think, when we meet someone who is just so sweet and so nice to us that we're like, okay, this is literally what I say I always want.
Yeah.
Why am I not attracted? Why do I not feel head over heels for this person, but that person that treats me like shit, that's the one I just want to like be gaga over.
Right.
I understand. I don't think any bad karma comes from that, from trying to see if that experience would be something that could work out. You weren't doing it maliciously. You were doing it selfishly to see if you could receive what you say you wanted.
Yeah.
Now, the hard part for younger, unexperienced people is understanding that more likely than not, you're going to go through multiple relationships.
Right.
They're not all going to work out. Whether you're the good person or bad person in it, most of them are going to end. They're not going to be successful until you find one that is, that you hopefully stay with forever and create a family and all that sort of, movie type stuff.
Right.
But the thing is, him writing you that letter, if he was upset when it ended, he should take solace in what he wrote you.
Yeah.
Because he got to experience what it was like to have a safe place, to feel that he could open up, to feel that he could share the woes of his life. And he felt like he received love until he did not.
Yeah, I like that. It's
right?
true.
So that's like, it's hard because the most difficult thing is breaking up with someone because you're going to be the bad person and you don't like that. And I can fully admit, I mean, November, a year ago, 6 months ago when we recorded this, my girlfriend and I, like, up and down. Like, that's just life. There's no perfect relationship. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Social media can show you that it's the best thing since sliced bread. That's bullshit. It's life. It's two people that are not identical, that should not be together all the time, 24/7. I don't believe in that.
No.
It's two different personalities. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be, things that you don't always agree on. There's going to be different routines. And so, losing my train of thought. So, when things come to an end, it's unfortunate that most people take it so hard or it's so difficult for them to be okay with it being over because they themselves, or us generally, are programmed so hard to be focused on the negative aspect of it instead of taking a moment in the present moment to realize if the relationship's ending, it's because the two of you aren't supposed to be together.
Right.
So it's good that it's ending. It doesn't feel like it right away, but in the future, as long as no one has been vindictive, malicious, hurtful, cheated, if nothing bad has happened, then in the future, you will realize that it was nice of that person to end the relationship, to allow you to start the healing process sooner than later.
Yeah,
because it's going to suck for a little bit, but it's only going to suck as long as you let it.
Yeah,
right? Because that's the thing. We talk about this all the time. You're depressed or anxiety filled as long as you choose to be in that state of mind.
Yeah.
Once you choose to not be in that state of mind and let go of the pieces of you that you no longer need, you now open yourself up for the future possibility of a new relationship.
Yep.
If that's what your goal is, to have a new relationship.
I like that. No, it's true.
And again, easier said than done. I try to give this information out to people who might be in a rough patch or might be going through the relationship woes.
Right.
It's not the end of the world. You've already survived. At our age, we've already survived multiple breakups, whether we broke up with the person or we've been dumped. It's and part of life. It just happens. Fuck. Unfortunately, a lot of people nowadays get married and then that doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Just to wrap this up, I want to talk a little bit about intimacy. Because a lot of people have a misunderstanding of what intimacy is. You say the word and right away most people go to the visual of naked in front of your person and having sexual contact. And to me, that's an aspect of intimacy, but that's not true intimacy. Because as we know, as we age, and I'm talking 50, 60, 70, 80, things change. Looks are different. Sex drive is different. When we talk about vulnerability like we have been today, I feel that is the most intimate that I can be is when I really just kind of break down my own walls for the individual and share my life, like my biggest fears in life, things that had happened that created an oppressive mentality in my brain for a long period of time in my life. When I share those things with somebody fully clothed, or maybe in a pool or whatever the situation is, I feel like that is what true intimacy is.
I literally just talked about that with someone a couple of days ago. But yeah, you're on the money. I'm gonna tell you, true intimacy is not just physical and sexual contact. It's 1000% mental connection, I think, for me. And I think intimacy goes so far beyond that, because it's like the depth of a person more than anything. It's literally being naked with your clothes on. It's just the connection. It's emotional intimacy. I think when you connect with your partner in an emotional way, those non-sexual acts of emotional intimacy are like top tier in relationships. I feel like you don't just need to connect physically to connect with your partner. And it goes so much more far beyond that. If you're only going to connect with your partner on a physical level with sexual intimacy, that's only going to last for so long. So I feel like when you master true intimacy with your partner, it's on levels of not just sexual and physical, of course, but I feel like that's the last level of intimacy. The number one level of true intimacy is connecting with your partner on a mental and emotional level.
I think if you're able to reach a level of non-physical intimacy on whichever level it might be, before being intimate, which is hard for people at a young age because they want to jump into bed, that physical intimacy, when it does happen, it's going to be stronger. It's going to feel better. And hopefully it's going to sustain longer. To wrap it up, I love what you said there. True intimacy is being naked with your clothes on. I think that in itself is just perfect. Thank you very much for swinging by today. To everyone out there in the Lyfe Choyces land, thank you very much for coming back each and every week. We'll see you next Tuesday at 2 p.m. here on the Lyfe Choyces podcast. Much love, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen.
You are now about
The Journey, Life Choices podcast.